Welcome to this edition of the Head to Head Podcast. I'm your host, Cam McKinney, and this is episode number 97 of the podcast. In this edition of the podcast, I'm going to be talking about the triumphant return of Rob Gronkowski to the National Football League, and he won't be playing for his longtime team, the New England Patriots. No, Gronk is making a return to football, and he is playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Patriots have traded away Gronk for a fourth-round draft pick. Reaction to the news has been all over the place. Some Patriots fans being like, we just traded away a guy who was in retirement and we stole a fourth-round draft pick from the Buccaneers. Other Patriots fans are like, this is really the end of an era. There's no more Tom Brady. There's no more Rob Gronkowski. And they both ditched us for a team that up until last year, none of us cared about in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A lot of Patriots fans are thinking it like that. You're leaving a team that you won 3 Super Bowls for, a coach that is the winningest coach in football history, to both become members of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then there are those people who believe Brady and Gronk have been conspiring to do this for the last year. They believe this was an NBA type plan, like LeBron joining the Heat with D-Wade and Bosh. Like, this has been in the works for a while. I'm just surprised by how many Patriots fans are surprised that Gronk is back in the first place. I think we all realize his retirement wasn't going to last, but they're all surprised that it only lasted a year. I mean, Gronk is only 30 years old, and in his 9 NFL seasons, he scored 79 touchdowns. He was a 5-time Pro Bowler, the third most touchdowns by a tight end ever, behind only Antonio Gates and Tony Gonzalez. So it's not that far-fetched for Gronk to believe he's got something left in the tank, and he can be a celebrity whenever he wants. He can go back and be a football analyst whenever he wants. He can join the WWE whenever he wants. But there is a small window for Rob Gronkowski to continue to play football. So it shouldn't be that unbelievable that Gronk is going back to football, and the fact that he would follow Tom Brady over his loyalty of the Patriots, which clearly maybe Gronk never really had. I believe Gronk's loyalty has always been to Tom Brady. In fact, I find Gronk's loyalty to Brady a little refreshing in an era where there is not a lot of loyalty between teams and players. It's interesting that the loyalty is starting to happen between the players. Gronk realizes, hey, I like this guy. He happens to be the best quarterback of all time. We are friends. I want to play football with this guy. I mean, we've seen it in basketball for the last decade, but it's interesting that now it's starting to enter the realm of football. Will this become the new norm? Will guys be searching to play with one another more so than playing for a certain franchise in the New England Patriots? I mean, Gronk did not have a very good last season with the New England Patriots, but he did show up when it mattered most in the postseason. He was great at run blocking, and he also made some big-time catches down the stretch that the Patriots so desperately need. So there were flashes of the old Gronk. Maybe after a year off, you'll see more and more of those old flashes. Do I think Rob Gronkowski will return to his all-pro form? Probably not, but I do think there will be enough flashes that you'll see the old Rob Gronkowski that it will be worth for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to trade a 4th-round draft pick for. I think this will end up working for the Buccaneers. Because unlike his time with the New England Patriots, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will not be relying heavily on Rob Gronkowski. They'll have Mike Evans, they'll have Chris Goodwin, and they'll at least have one other tight end. I mean, they have O.J. Howard, they might trade him, but they also have Cameron Brate. So Rob Gronkowski will not be the main weapon for the Buccaneers. And if all things goes right, Rob Gronkowski will be a luxury for the Buccaneers, not a necessity. He won't have to play in all 16 regular season games. And can we all be honest? If Rob Gronkowski plays in 12 games and scores 6 to 8 touchdowns, I think that would be a big win for the Buccaneers, because just his presence alone on the field does make a difference. He's not the old Gronk, but opposing teams will still have to think about him as a force to be reckoned with. And another reason why I think this is good news that Gronk is coming back, because we can stop the nonsense of will he, won't he. I mean, in all the appearances Gronk has made on TV, from being a television analyst to being on The Masked Singer to joining the WWE, all the questions have been, are you returning to football? And he's been answering them in the sly way of maybe I will, maybe I won't. At least now there's a definitive answer. Rob Gronkowski is back in the National Football League, and we can stop that nonsense that's been driving everyone crazy. And my response to Patriots fans who are mad that Gronkowski is not returning to the New England Patriots, get over it. He was way better than any of us could have imagined. I mean, I think of Gronk as one of those guys who just all of a sudden became one of the best players in football in the world without any of us expecting him to be that good. That's kind of one of the best things an athlete can be like this. All of a sudden, we just regarded him as one of the best because it was so obvious to see that he was unlike any other tight end in football. He was scoring touchdowns at an insanely high rate. I mean, I remember the Patriots trading Randy Moss, and it basically became the Rob Gronkowski show from there on forward. I mean, he has been Brady's number one weapon basically all 9 seasons he has been a member of the New England Patriots. I will look back fondly at his time as a member of the New England Patriots. He was fun, he was entertaining, and boy, was he a unique football player to watch. And I find it interesting that as like outspoken as he is and how like a fun guy we all view him as, I think he's insanely humble for how good he's been in the National Football League. Like if he were on another team that wasn't the New England Patriots, he might be a more cocky guy. But I also think it's in Rob Gronkowski's football career that you can see he's a hardworking guy. He cares about football. He puts up insane stats, and yet he still acts humble. Like I watch his press conference the other day of him announcing he's returning to the Buccaneers, and he knows it's a grind and he's ready to get back to work. Like I don't see the anger about Gronk coming back. I think he had one of the best careers a member of the New England Patriots has ever had. In fact, during this Super Bowl era, I think you can make a case that Rob Gronkowski is the second best player to play for the Patriots other than Tom Brady. I mean, you have Randy Moss and Rodney Harrison, but other than that, there are not a lot of surefire Hall of Famers with the Patriots during this dynasty run, and Moss didn't win a Super Bowl, so Gronk should be ahead of him. I mean, Gronkowski is one of the all-time best Patriots, and he's a surefire Hall of Famer. And the dude was just a monster in the end zone. You could not defend Rob Gronkowski when he was in his absolute prime. I, for one, don't think the Patriots would have gone on this second run of winning Super Bowls if they did not have Rob Gronkowski. I mean, they were not the same defensive team this second time around. They became more of an offensive team, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they had Rob Gronkowski like this undefensible monster on the football field. And his 2011 is one of the best offensive seasons I've seen from a player ever. Rob Gronkowski is a tight end who scored 17 touchdowns that season. By comparison, Tony Gonzalez's best season of scoring touchdowns is 10, and Antonio Gates is 13. Rob Gronkowski scored 17 times, and he had 90 catches. I mean, he was doing it all on the football field that year. That was the year I was like, this guy is out of this world good. I mean, during this run, if you look back at the best offensive seasons for a Patriots player, I think of Moss scoring 22 touchdowns that year, and I think of Gronk's outrageously good 17 touchdown season in 2011. I think Patriots fans started to take Rob Gronkowski for granted. Like most NFL teams do not get that kind of quality play from their tight ends. Most teams have a guy who at best will catch 30 balls and 30 to 50 catches and score maybe 5 touchdowns. Gronk had 5 seasons of double-digit touchdowns with the Patriots in 9 years with the team. 5 seasons of double-digit touchdowns in seasons where he had 8, but he of course missed games due to injury. Some of the best tight ends in football are used for the safety net for the quarterback. They're not their main weapon. Gronk became the main weapon for the New England Patriots. You were winning games because you had Rob Gronkowski. I mean, during this run with Gronk, he was the main end zone target. He was the guy that was going to score the touchdowns. They had really great slot receivers like Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, and Danny Amendola, but the guy who was going to score in the end zone was going to be Gronk, and that is unlike most NFL teams. It is the other way around. Like, they have a star wide receiver like Julio Jones scoring the touchdowns, and again, the tight ends are usually the safety net. No, Rob Gronkowski was not the safety net. He was the main weapon, a one-of-a-kind, franchise-level tight end. It's interesting to look at the list of other players who have come out of retirement recently. I mean, it's a bit of a mixed bag. You have Ricky Williams, who was good with the Dolphins when he came back. Brett Favre, who had one really good season when he came back. Marshawn Lynch has been a wash. Jason Witten, I mean, he came back with the Cowboys. Now he's off to the Raiders. I mean, but the difference is here, Gronk is 30 years old. I mean, he's taken a beating. He's had his injuries, but maybe a whole year off will be good for Rob Gronkowski. Rob Gronkowski is not going to score 17 touchdowns with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But again, if he scores 5 to 8, I think it will be worth the Buccaneers making this trade. And even if Gronk can't return to all Pro Bowler Gronk, I think it's useful for the Buccaneers to have a quarterback tight end tandem in Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, who have gone through the grind together and have won Super Bowls. I think that matters, having winners around, and having the winningest quarterback around is helpful, but also having a guy who was there with him winning those Super Bowls. I think that matters. I mean, recently, Tom Brady went on the Howard Stern show and talked about how he cared about having receivers that he trusted. You have to think he doesn't trust anyone more so than he does Rob Gronkowski. Brady wanted this to happen, and I think Brady will try to make this work. He will probably try to make Gronk look a lot better than he did in his last season with the Patriots, because I think Brady is determined to show that not only does he have a lot left in the tank, but his friend Rob Gronkowski also has a lot left in the tank in football. I'm just sitting here wondering, is Brady going to try to bring the rest of the band back together? Like, are the Buccaneers going to try to get Julian Edelman to join the Buccaneers also? Are they going to call up Danny Amendola? I, for one, would be excited for that, because those guys are great guys to watch play football, but also they're winning. Like, I believe Brady believes he could probably win a Super Bowl with that group again. So I wouldn't be surprised if more guys joined the Buccaneers who were past Patriots who Tom Brady trusts. There are so many people asking themselves, why are Brady and Gronk doing this? They have nothing to gain. I don't understand that line of thinking. I think they have nothing to lose. Like, I don't think anyone's going to shame Brady if at 43 years old he can't turn around the Buccaneers. I don't think anyone is going to think any less of Rob Gronkowski if he doesn't return to Pro Bowl form. We'll still think of these players as two of the top, if not the top players at their position of all time. But think about what they have to gain. If Rob Gronkowski and Tom Brady, in the unlikeliest of circumstances, end up winning a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, think about what that could do for their legacy. They would have won a Super Bowl with Bruce Arians, a guy who we do not think of in the same limelight that we do as Bill Belichick. We do not regard Arians as one of the best head coaches ever. If Tom Brady and Gronk are able to win a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers, that would do wonders for their legacy. So yeah, I don't think there's a lot for them to lose, but I think there's something for them to gain, especially if Gronk plays a somewhat big part in it. Right now, Gronk and Brady rank 4th in the all-time NFL passing duo, with 79 touchdowns thrown by Brady to Gronkowski. If that duo were able to win a Super Bowl with a team not named the New England Patriots, that would be something they would have over the others. Joe Montana and Jerry Rice never won a Super Bowl with the second team. Steve Young and Jerry Rice never won a Super Bowl with a second team. Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison never won a Super Bowl with a second team. Same with Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin. None of these guys, as great as they are, were able to win a Super Bowl with a second team. So don't tell me if by extraordinary circumstances Brady and Gronk are able to do it, that it means nothing, that they have nothing to gain here. No, it's the opposite. They have nothing to lose, but I think a lot to gain. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the best case scenario is that the Buccaneers win 11 games and they make it out of the first round in the postseason. And I think that would still be quite impressive for Brady and Gronk to do. But again, in a world where they do end up winning a Super Bowl, you can't tell me that that would mean nothing. We are all wondering if these guys can win big football games without Bill Belichick as their head coach. And this is finally going to answer that question. So it is going to mean something either way. How much it means, I don't know. I don't think their legacies will be harshly affected if it doesn't work out. We'll still think of Brady as one of the all-time greats, and I'll still think of Gronk as the best tight end I've ever seen. But again, if they end up winning the Super Bowl, you can't tell me it would mean nothing if they win a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of all franchises. I also find it shockingly surprising why people are surprised that Gronk is more loyal to Brady than he is to the Patriots. The Patriots tried to trade Gronk to the Detroit Lions of all teams, and that's when Gronk said, no, I'm only going to play with this guy or I'm not going to play football and all. And I think he's pretty much stuck to that since he made that statement. Gronkowski doesn't want to play with another quarterback not named Tom Brady. And again, I kind of respect that. He understands that he wouldn't have those stats if Brady weren't his quarterback, and I think Brady knows that his stats look a lot better when Gronk is on the field. I think it's ridiculous to think that Gronk is joining the Buccaneers because he wants to be a party animal in Florida. No, he's picking Brady and the Bucs because the Patriots didn't show loyalty. They were going to ship him away. They didn't regard him as highly as clearly Brady does. That's what's kind of maddening about this dynasty run. They won't admit how good they had it, the Patriots. They would never admit that Tom Brady was the best quarterback ever. I mean, it was so clear. You have to just at some point say to yourselves, yes, this is a unique circumstance. This guy is the best and we have to treat him such as. And the same with Gronk. You're like, okay, he's the best tight end ever. We get it. You have to just acknowledge the fact that you're in a rare circumstance where you have maybe the two best guys to ever play the positions ever. And when you don't treat them as such, don't be surprised when they turn around and they start to appreciate each other more than they appreciate the team. This lack of loyalty nonsense is something that I find ridiculous. Gronk was here for 9 years and he was a big reason that you have 3 more Super Bowls. Brady was here for 20 years. He's the reason you have 6 Super Bowls. It's okay that they're moving on. And again, I find it interesting that they're loyal to each other. And I think they're loyal to each other because each of them acknowledges they're the best to ever do it. Gronk realizes that Brady's the best quarterback ever, and Brady realizes I've never played with a tight end like Rob Gronkowski, and that's something that the Patriots were never willing to tell them, but they were telling each other. So it'd be no shock to anyone that they're loyal to each other and not to a team. Again, the two of them are being ridiculed because right now they're thought of as joining the Buccaneers because they want to have more fun. I have no idea if they want to have more fun or not. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to make fun of Gronk and Brady because they want to have a good time in Tampa Bay or whatever. I think this does have something to do about being acknowledged as two of the best to ever do it. And I think Bruce Arians is clearly going to acknowledge that he has the best quarterback and tight end ever, more so than Bill Belichick would be willing to do. And again, maybe Bill Belichick will be right in his own way. Again, he has a lot to gain here. If he wins 11 football games without Brady again, then again, we'll think of him as a football genius who can do it without a star quarterback. But there is this scenario where both teams might not be very good. What if the Patriots are 8-8 and what if the Buccaneers are 8-8? Everyone's acting like we're going to get this answer this year of who was the mastermind behind this dynasty. And the truth is, all 3 of these people had a key reason to do with the Patriots winning a lot of Super Bowls. Belichick is a key reason why the Patriots were able to win 6 Super Bowls. He's the best football coach of all time. Brady was a key reason the Patriots were able to win 6 Super Bowls. He's the best quarterback ever. And Gronk was a key reason why the Patriots were able to make a second run at some Super Bowls, because he came out of nowhere and became the best tight end in the history of football. And nothing that happens this upcoming football season is going to change my mind about any of them and the part they played in helping the Patriots become one of the best, if not the best, dynasty in all of football. I don't think either team has great Super Bowl chances, but I do hope that Rob Gronkowski returns to form, and I hope this works out for him and that he makes an impact with the Buccaneers, because I care about Gronk, the player. He was so fun to watch. He was a touchdown machine, the best end zone target in maybe the history of all of football. Last season showed Patriots fans anything. It's that tight ends don't come out of the woodwork like wide receivers do. Rob Gronkowski was irreplaceable to what the Patriots were doing. I mean, watch last season. The tight ends were horrendous. You took Rob Gronkowski for granted because you just thought to yourself, wow, every week he's going to deliver and tight ends are going to be great. You lose Gronk and see what you got at the tight end position last year. Absolutely nothing. You can find great wide receivers out there. You can find great running backs. You can replace Sony Michel's of the world. You can replace Welker with Julian Edelman. But there is, and there will not be, another Rob Gronkowski who walks through that door and scores 17 touchdowns at the tight end position. The rarest of tight ends. A guy who, for the most part of his 9 years with the Patriots, was their best offensive weapon. For Gronk, I hope there are a lot of end zone spikes in his future. Thanks for listening to this edition of the Head to Head Podcast. I'm Cam McKinney. There'll be a new episode of the podcast every Monday on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. So please rate, review, and subscribe.